In today's economy, more people than ever are looking to buy and sell businesses. But how do you do it? Welcome to the Deal Board, presented by Transworld Business Advisors. Straight talk about real deals and real people. Listen to stories, interviews, and expert advice to help your business sale, merger, or acquisition process. Now, here are your business exit experts, Andy and Jessica.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a great show exploring international markets. So as a business brokerage firm, we do business internationally, and we went out on the road to speak and interviewed some of our franchisees and master franchisees in Australia, the UK, South Africa, and France, and really found out some great opportunities for international buyers and just the opportunity for buyers to educate themselves of what's going on in the world stage.
Yeah, sometimes we talk about a lot of people immigrating to the United States. But as we learned, even with Transworld, when we decided to launch international, there's opportunity everywhere. And so some of the greatest markets, Australia has been great for United Franchise Group. They went there many, many years ago, and it still is one of the top countries in the world for Sinorama and Fully Promoted. And, now Transworld. I mean, I've been over to Australia and I'm just marvel. It's just a young kind of country, still plenty of room to expand. And we talked to Jerry O'Gorman today, and he kind of echoes that sentiment.
Right. And, the UK, not nearly as young, but, the UK is really a big opportunity for Transworld as well. And a lot for business investors in the UK, especially in small business. And we talked to Henry Ziff from our London office, and there was some themes that echoed in all these offices, and that some of these countries are going through some changes right now. Obviously, the UK is about to go through Brexit, but change can bring a lot of opportunity for international buyers for things like investment or acquisition, or even, relocating to a different country to take advantage of some economic growth.
Yeah, I mean, you see France with the yellow vest protests where, people are fighting for economic change, but those things kind of bring on, the maybe big businesses pulling back a little bit and small businesses taking, the opportunity to expand it. And in Australia, they just went through the Royal Commission on Banking. And, Jeremy was saying that, certainly there was a restructuring and a reordering and people kind of taking a pause. But, again, Jeremy talks about that, it's a great opportunity for small businesses to expand because there's not as many buyers and the right now, the multiples are not as high as they usually are. So there's a great opportunity for small business in Australia. And again, when I was there, it just seems like such a young place. The cities are building. Real estate, it was hot and still kind of hot, but I think it's taking a pause as well.
Yeah. And as very similar themes in South Africa too. South Africa has done a lot of reorganization in the last few years, and Jacques Stoltz talks to us about what's going on now, and they're still kind of coming out of that. But what's happening is it's suppressing the rand value. And if you're an outside investor, if you're investing internationally, that gives you a large opportunity to really take advantage of some suppressed pricing there and kind of catch your investment or your business on the upswing. But, there's just, I think business owners need to think internationally now. Like, we're a global economy, and whether you're doing business in the United States or the UK, you could be serving customers all over the world. So there is an opportunity to look for acquisitions in other countries if you're a small business owner, to diversify your investments and maybe even get, some of your distribution closer to your customers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the pound is certainly, quote unquote, less for the United States. The same with the Australian dollar. I mean, your dollar, United States dollar, goes a lot farther in those countries, and you have some buying power right now that you didn't have like 5-6 years ago. So it's certainly an opportunity to go over there and check it out. And the other thing is, you're going to need some local partners, and that we talk about that as well. And we've had some great local partnerships, again, with Henry and Michael Ziff and Jeremy and other franchisees in Australia. And Jacques. I mean, Jacques, his family has been in the business for years over there, and we certainly couldn't go to South Africa without somebody like him.
Right. And we do talk a lot about that in these interviews too, is, what is different in the process of buying a business in another country, because there are different regulations. Financing structures are much different. These countries, they don't have the luxury of having a program like the SBA loan program we have in the United States. So you definitely need some good partners to help you through the financing section of an acquisition as well.
So it's great to hear from 3 different areas of the world, and I think let's jump right into it.
Yeah, let's get to it. Transworld Business Advisors is the world's largest business brokerage and mergers and acquisitions firm with over 500 brokers in nearly 200 offices worldwide. Transworld's team handles thousands of business sales every year. To be connected with a qualified business broker or learn more about the buying and selling process, visit tworld.com/the deal board or call 888-719-9098. Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're talking to some of our franchisees and brokers from around the world, just getting to know a little bit more about international markets and how business sales are treated in those markets. So joining me, I have Henry Ziff, who is our master franchisee in the British Isles and also the managing director of Transworld Business Advisors of London. Welcome to the show, Henry.
Hi there, Jessica. Thanks for having me on today.
So tell me a little bit about the market in London in the UK. Is it an active sales market right now, seller's market, buyer's market? How would you describe it?
Well, I think very similar to what you guys have here in the US. There's uncertainty we have Brexit coming along. You guys have your government shutdown at the moment. But on the whole, the market's really strong. We have lots of people who are interested in looking at selling their business, especially this time of year in kind of January. And we've got lots of interesting buyers out there who are looking at buying their first businesses in order to kind of de-risk, potential redundancies later in the year.
Interesting. So very similar timing wise, January and the beginning of the year is a really active time for buyers looking for businesses too. So good time to get your business on the market. So if you're a seller in the UK or someone considering selling their business, what would be some pieces of advice that you would give that business owner in preparing to list their business on the market?
That's a great question, one we get every single day. I think the best advice is really kind of organize books and records and kind of have them for the last kind of 3-5 years. That's a hugely important one when someone's looking at buying a business, is being able to prove the kind of seller's net profit in the business. Another one really is kind of prepare to sell. So don't just go, I want to sell now, but kind of have a think, if you're considering exit, kind of have an exit plan, which could look at a variety of different things over a kind of a 1, 2, 3 year time horizon.
What do local buyers need to do in order to purchase a business in the UK? And does that change if you're out of the country or say you're a US citizen that's looking to make an investment in the UK?
I think there's a couple of different things in there, Jessica. A local buyer buying a small business, very similar to here in the US. It's we always talk about location being the most important thing. If are they going to work in the business? Do they want to employ their kind of family or friends in the business? All these things are really important when looking at the kind of the size and investment level. For bigger buyers, we have kind of international buyers, especially coming to us in London, where we have, all sorts of kind of small, medium-sized businesses in all sorts of industries, and, people looking to buy businesses as investments. And that kind of happens in a couple of different ways. Either, so a bit like you guys have with your E2 visa scheme, we get people coming to the UK on business visas, but we also have kind of plenty of international investors who are just looking to acquire good businesses around the UK or the British Isles.
Interesting. So lots of opportunity in London right now. I know you guys have a lot of great listings. Me and you were just chatting about financing a little bit, and in the US, we're pretty reliant on the SBA program and financing program, which obviously is a US government run program. What kind of financing options are there for businesses in the UK?
So probably quite similar again. We have deals where I think kind of lots of our deals have an element of seller financing in. So that would be where the seller would defer some of their payment over kind of a 1-2 year period. But we also kind of have more traditional means of financing, things like asset financing. I know you guys have the kind of SBA loans here in the US. What we have the Startup Loans Company in the UK, which is similar, just I think on a smaller scale. I suppose one of the points of difference in the businesses is that we outsource lots of our finance work to specialist finance brokers. It's a regulated activity in the UK, so we can't really touch it. We introduce our buyers to our finance brokers, to our panel of finance brokers that we work with.
Actually, a good thing though, right? To have a partner like that and a finance broker that's an expert in acquiring finances for transactions like this. So last question, I know you have a lot of good listings right now. What would be the most interesting business that you have listed for sale, or the one that you think attracts an international buyer pool?
We've got a great business for sale. It's a large UK distributor and wholesaler of leather accessories. It's well known and well established, and one of the largest business of its type in the UK, with over 700 wholesale accounts. We have it listed for £1.1 million, and it makes about £450,000 profit.
Great. So if people want to contact you or learn more about this specific listing or any businesses available in the UK, or even maybe to sell their business, how would they reach out to you, Henry?
So the best way is go to our website, tworldba.co.uk, and click Get in Touch.
Thanks for joining us, Henry, and giving us an idea of the business for sale market in the British Isles. And we'll drop some of those links into the show notes, but we wish you the best of luck in 2019.
Thanks for having me, Jessica. Same to you guys out in Denver, Colorado.
Hey, Andy, you know what time I think it is? I think it's time to talk about our deal of the week.
Deal of the week.
Welcome back, everybody. And yes, it's time for Deal of the Week.
Sold.
So we have with us today a very special guest, Ken Gorman from our Transworld Business Advisors office in London, England, of the Southwest side. And Ken, welcome. Tell us about your deal.
Yeah, sure. So this is an electronics wholesaler. They have a giant warehouse, and they're the guys that if you're an electrician, you go to get all of your stuff. They turn over about $7 million a year. Their EBITDA is about $600,000 a year. And we actually got them through a telemarketing lead. And literally, when you go in, you have to go to the counter to ask for the owner. And I had to go back 3 times before he would actually see me because he was too busy the first 2 times. And I actually, on the 3rd time, he gave me 10 minutes. And an hour and a half later, I got the listing in that meeting, which was great. We actually found an investor buyer that made an offer, and we went down the track with that. But he decided he didn't like him, and he wanted at least $1.5 million up front, and as well as seller financing. And so we found him another investor buyer that was willing to do that. We had to wait until they did the stock take at the end of the year, and we got that done. And his EBITDA was actually higher than we were forecasting, and we went down the track and have a very happy buyer and seller, and he's off to his retirement.
So how much did it sell for?
It sold for it's £2 million, which is about $2.6 million.
And what was the seller's discretionary earnings approximately?
The seller's profit, the thing is they had to replace the owner. And so we didn't factor that in, but the seller's profit would have been £600,000, so about $800,000. But when we subtracted out his cost, it was about £500,000, or about, I guess about something like $700,000.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on this week and telling us about a great deal. Another good deals for good people.
Appreciate it, and look forward to talking to you sometime soon.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Today for our international show, we're talking to franchisees all around the world. And with me, I have Jacques Stoltz, who is our master franchisee in South Africa. Jacques, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jessica. It's a real pleasure and honor to be on your show.
Great. Well, let's start how we've talked with everybody else. Jacques, just tell us a little bit about the South African economy. How is it right now? Are you guys in an upswing? Are you kind of at the top of the market, or in general, what's going on in the economy down there?
Well, Jessica, to tell you the truth, I'm actually quite optimistic and positive about South African economy in general. We're currently facing a number of challenges. These include a number of commissions of inquiries that are actually going on in the government sector, and they actually exposing corruption and fraud in a scale that we've never seen before. Now, obviously, that is quite bad for us. The media exposure that we get worldwide with regards to the fraud allegations. But as bad as it is now, the future may look much more promising because of this coming out now. And finding some solutions to and means to stop corruption. That's a big positive for us. We also facing presidential elections in May. Now, the uncertainty is a problem for the economy, because there's a lot of major role players in the economy that is playing the wait and see card. But in general, I think after the elections, there will be an upward trend in the South African economy. A major, it's a positive for international people, but it's a negative for local South African people, is the rand-dollar exchange rate. Currently, it's around 14 rand for $1. So this makes it very attractive for international investors to invest in South African companies, because they come in with a very positive rand-dollar exchange.
Right. Especially, it sounds like, it's a great time for foreign investors with the uncertainty of the election and, kind of clearing the air with these fraudulent charges. But on the other side of both of those is probably a big upswing, and investors could get in now with a lower exchange rate and ride that upward momentum.
That's exactly true. If they invest now, they get a return on investment quite very fast, just by riding that rand-dollar exchange rate.
Great. Well, so Jacques, how does those economic factors that you just talked about affect small businesses, but specifically the sales of small businesses, like the business that we're in?
Yeah, so there's a buzz all around the world with small and medium businesses being the future of the economy. And that's the same in South Africa. Small businesses will be playing a bigger and bigger role in the economy. And, people are getting laid off from big companies, and they don't have a choice. They need to do something, and they go into small business, either starting their own business or purchasing an existing small business. The major stumbling block, I think it's worldwide, for small businesses or individuals to purchase a small business is finding access to finances. And that's a big issue in South Africa currently for individuals to enter the small business market. And that's where we actually come on board, and especially with the franchising and the franchise expansion programs of international franchisors are playing a big part in creating new franchises in South Africa. And I think that's where Transworld also are quite well situated in the market, as we've got access to those franchisors.
Right. So interesting. I mean, similar trends that we see across the world of, buyers retiring from corporate and looking for a small business. You did mention, and my next question was, what's different about the process of buying a small business in South Africa? And you mentioned financing. I mean, in the U.S., we have the SBA guarantee program, which helps a lot. So, what are some aspects of buying or selling a small business in South Africa that's unique or different to that market? Maybe financing is one of them, but are there others?
Yeah, you mentioned now your finance models in the USA, and a stumbling block in South Africa is that sellers are not really open and familiar to the seller finance option. That's where we come on board and try to educate them that they actually can get more out of the business if they go to the seller finance option. And we've got a number of institutions that will also assist small businesses with finance, but there's a bigger owner contribution requirement. And that's where individuals struggle. So if the seller is willing to finance that portion, then we are able to find finances. But that is one of the similarities with the United States market. But we've got a different struggling block here as well, and that relates to labor law requirements when it comes to the sale of a business. You can't just sell a business. There's a number of steps that needs to be followed with regards to the labor, all your employees and stuff like that. And again, sorry, that's where we come in to educate the sellers. They're not always familiar with that.
Right. Well, it sounds like, having good advisors through this process of, resources, like you mentioned, through the franchise and through financing, but also knowing how to, navigate those regulations is really important. So, Jacques, before we finish up, I know we had talked about, there's a great opportunity for international investors. And I think you have a specific opportunity that you wanted to highlight that would be of interest to the international community.
Yeah, that's correct. My franchisee, who's covering the Gauteng East area, which is basically the Johannesburg East area, has successfully listed a $10 million company. So in South African currency, it's about 150 million rand company, which is quite a substantial company in South Africa. Their head office is based in the Johannesburg East area, but most of their work is done in other Southern African and African countries in a whole. It's in a construction type of company. And, if we find international investors who want to come on board in purchasing this company, who wants a footprint in the African market, this is an excellent opportunity for them. So Gavin may post soon some more information on your on that Pro platform, for the hot opportunities for relocation, that Transworld offers.
Great. And for listeners, that's our Throw Pro program. And you can find that on tworld.com. And that's hot opportunities that would be attractive to investors from multiple markets. But Jacques, if anybody wants to contact you and learn more about additional opportunities in South Africa for investment, how would they be able to reach you?
So our local website is www.tworldba.co.za. And my email address is jstoltz@tworld.com. And obviously, I can be reached through the International T-World website as well.
Great. And for listeners, we'll drop those emails and those links down into our show notes. Jacques, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise about the South African market.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to some international investors contacting me. And thanks again for the opportunity.
Hey, Jessica, you know what time it is?
Money time?
Almost. It's time for Listing of the Week.
Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for joining us again. We have our Listing of the Week this week from Stephen Hanson of our San Diego North office. Stephen, welcome back to the show, and thanks for joining us.
Jessica, it's great to be with you again.
So tell us a little bit about this listing that you have for sale in San Diego.
This is one of these really interesting listings that actually could be sort of a something that someone might want to move from another part of the country to Southern California for. It is a full-scale, upscale fitness center located in a premier part of San Diego County that has been in business for about 18 years, and the current owners are, it's time to move on and do some other things in their life.
Nice. Well, now would be an ideal time to move to Southern California, especially with some of the winter weather that the rest of the country has been getting. So I can definitely see the attraction there.
It's been interesting since we put this listing out. Probably at least half of the people that have inquired have been from cold weather states, and they're all like, I used to live in California, and this one looks like worth coming back for. I've been wanting to get back to California, and this business looks so great. I really want to take a good look at it so I can, plan my future to come back to California.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about like what's drawing these buyers to this business, or what is the owner doing that makes this business so attractive?
So this is it is a full all-encompassing fitness center. They have, over 100 classes a week going on in there. They have power training for those bodybuilder type people, and then for the regular folks who just want to get in there and just do their routine, their cardiovascular routine, and work out on the machines. They have something for everything. Now, one of the things that they have focused on to differentiate themselves from some of the national brands is customer service. So they're unique. They are not their market is not the $35 a month type crowd. They have almost 3,000 members, and their base package is almost $100 a month. So they're looking for somebody who wants something different. So how do they do that? One of the things when you walk in the door there, it's a great presentation. The place looks beautiful. It's spotless. Everybody's smiling. They're all professional. They're in great uniforms. And then throughout the club, there are things like cold towels, hot towels, eucalyptus this. I mean, there's all these other special amenities that separate them from some of the brands that we all know that's out there.
Wow, it sounds very upscale and very customer focused, and a great deal for anybody if they're living in California or looking to relocate back. So, Stephen, tell us a little bit about the numbers. What is the business listed for? What's the SDE? Anything good like that?
Sure. So the club is doing over $3 million a year, and one of the things that's really great with a club like this is almost all of that revenue is recurring revenue. People are on a plan of some type, and their credit card gets charged every month, and it's always really great to have the recurring revenue as part of your revenue stream. That's one thing that really helps when people look at a club like this. They go like, that's great to have that recurring revenue. With that, their SDE that we're looking at is well over about 15% of the revenue, and so that's it's quite well run. Everybody, you could always probably look at ways like, maybe I could do this better or that better. But, one of the things that they, for example, where they're located in the city and the part of the city they're in, it's hard to park, but that building has a parking garage in it. So they pay for the parking for everybody. Little things like that help them get that special price, as a member, and as part of their customer service package, so that they can make it easy for people to come and go.
Well, it sounds like a great business, Stephen. If someone wants to learn more or talk with you about, potentially acquiring this business, how would they get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is to shoot me an email at Stephen Hanson. Let me go back on that. shanson@tworld.com.
Great. And we will drop that into the show notes as well. Stephen, as always, it was a pleasure having you on the show, and best of luck with this listing.
Thanks so much, Jessica, and have a great day.
Hey, we're back, and we have a very special guest. They're all special, but this is a very special guest from all the way around the world, from where I'm sitting, of course. And we have Jeremy O'Gorman from Transworld Business Advisors of Manly, and that is in Australia. And we're going to talk a little bit about buying and selling businesses in Australia. One of the nice things about Australia is they have a very sort of similar economy to the United States. But when I came over there, Jeremy, I was overwhelmed by, number one, how beautiful it is, but it's still like a really young, vibrant kind of country, lots of opportunities. So why don't you give us a little bit of, what the business sales cycle is like over there right now.
Yeah, thanks, Andy, and thanks for having me on. Oh, look, the business economy in general at the moment is a little bit flat, but in terms of what you just said about the vibrance of the city, I mean, it really is going well, but we've just come through what we've called a banking royal commission, which is an investigation on our banks about how they conduct their business, and that has put a bit of pressure on the loans in Australia because the banks are sort of clamped down until the results came out, which were out just this week. That should improve, so we should see an uptick in not only business sales, but banks willing to lend to buyers of those businesses. I suppose what everyone's been waiting for is the end of this Royal Commission so business can get on with it and sort of improve from there. In terms of, the economy is actually ticking on really well. We've still got a low interest rate environment, which is generating a lot of sort of sales, consumer sales, which hopefully then will sort of come into, increasing the prices for the business when they're up for sale.
Well, that's great. It kind of sounds like what we're going through right now. And, there's always rocky things, of course, going on politically and geopolitically and, economy wise. We still do have low interest rates. We just went through a government shutdown, which was interesting. So that halted lending for us. So we understand that. So, small business in general, what's it like over there? Is there's good opportunity?
Most small businesses are ticking along reasonably well, in fact, because, as I said, the consumer confidence is fairly high for Australian standards with the low interest rate. So most small business owners are, in all fields are finding that there is people willing to spend money. Probably the same as you in the US. The IT sector seems to be running very hot, and then sort of behind that, the hospitality sector is ticking along well because about 2 years ago, people were sort of penny pitching and worried about what was going on. There's a lot more relaxed consumer sentiment. So, the people are going out to dinner. They are spending money in the hospitality sector. So probably the two strongest sectors for us is IT and hospitality at the moment.
That's great. That's certainly true with us too. Hospitality is always, I think, close to being number one. Construction seems to be a big one for us as well. Does that hold true in your area?
Look, construction's there. What I've seen in Sydney anyway, and it seems to be trending around the rest of the world, that we've just come through a massive boom in real estate prices. So in 2018, the prices went up by 20%. The average house here in Australia, in Sydney, sale price is about $880,000. So we've gone through that. So the construction side of things has been trying to cash in on that. What we have found is that they've built a huge number of unit blocks, and a lot of them are sitting empty at the moment and they can't sell them. So there's a little bit of, in terms of the housing market, that's slowing down a little bit.
All right. So there's a little bit of supply there, and that always drives opportunity too. So what are you seeing out there as far as demographics of people in business or thinking about exiting or even buying?
Yeah, look, I think we're following your pattern in the US. We've certainly got, as you call them, the baby boomers coming into retirement. I would say 80% of all listings through my book are people that are looking to retire. On the flip side of that, we're getting a lot of buyers that are sort of the professional that have been working in the cities or whatever, and they're sort of looking to take control of their own destiny. And that's really on the back end of, we haven't had any significant wage increases in Australia for about 5 years. And so people are starting to feel that if they stay in their job and all they're doing is earning money for someone else. So they're looking to get out and buy a business that they might have some experience in.
Well, that's pretty much what we do too. I mean, obviously people are looking to fill in, as we call it, the American dream. I guess you could call it the Australian dream of owning your own business and, being your own boss. So that's great. How about franchising? I mean, when I was there, it seemed like franchising is really growing there as well.
Yeah, look, unfortunately with franchising, we've had a couple of issues with a couple of large franchises that have just recently gone under, and it's left a lot of people high and dry, and that's been played out in the media, and unfortunately still is. So there's a little bit of caution in terms of people looking for franchises at the moment. On the flip side, I spoke to a couple of people about, one of our brands, Signarama, and they were just asking about, the longevity, what it does, and how it gets trained, and by the end of the conversation, they felt a lot more comfortable about the processes that UFG have, and that me being a franchisee, absolutely. So it's easy to sort of talk to someone, but there is some caution out there about franchises.
Sure. Well, it does go in cycles, and obviously a good brand like you, the ones that they have at UFG are certainly sought after, and the big ones like, and I know they name them different things sometimes over there, but the McDonald's of the world and those kind of things are always popular. So, if somebody wanted to start a business or even thinking of relocating to Australia, what kind of tips do you have for them?
Yeah, look, it's interesting you say that, Andy, because they've just introduced a new law, immigration law. So you can now come and, if you want to start up a business, and you've got to obviously have a business plan and show that that it possibly worked, but you can come to Australia and start up a business, and if you're still going after 2 years, you can apply for residency here in Australia. So that's just come in on the other side of things. The other laws here, most of the target laws is if you wanted to buy a business here in Australia and move over here, you have to spend at least $350,000 and then live here for 4 years. And of those 4 years, your business has to be running at a profit for 2 years. And then after that, you're allowed to apply for your residency.
Well, there sounds like there's a lot of opportunity in Australia, and we look forward to talking to you more about it soon. So, Jeremy, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, how's best to reach out?
Look, I think it's best to either send me an email on Gorman, JOGORMAN @tworld.com.au, or the flip side is +61 413 151 607.
It's been great having you on. Thanks so much for waking up early, and I stayed in a little late, and so thanks.
No, pleasure, Andy, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning into our show today. If you like the podcast, don't forget to subscribe through your favorite podcasting app and leave us a review. If you have questions or suggestions for the show, visit us at tworld/thedealboard or email us at thedealboard@tworld.com.